Hi everyone, welcome to this video on lesson 8 of the Human Body Part 2 scheme. This is on the immune system. And this is just a really simple overview of the ways in which white blood cells can fight pathogens that enter our body. Now, again, as I've been doing for this scheme of work, I'm not drawing these out from scratch. I'm just showing you some examples of diagrams that I used when I was teaching this topic to a class of mine at Orchard Park in Croydon earlier this year. This one in particular, I'm not saying is the best way to do it. If you do come up with a better way, yeah, please do let me know. That would be really handy. But it is a way of getting the information across. So what I did when I was explaining this is start just with a quick reminder of some of the ways in which bacteria and viruses in particular can be transmitted into our bodies. And again, this is remembering the key idea, which perhaps I could have made more explicit here. The key idea is the big idea, the concept that runs through all of this sequence of lessons that we've done so far, at least since the germ theory lesson, is that communicable diseases are caused by pathogens entering the body. And again, it's an idea that we take for granted, but actually for students, it's really important that we hammer this every single lesson, because that is the one that's going to reshape the way they think about a disease and staying healthy. So I might have made this more obvious by saying, well, imagine this is a bit of a dodgy beef burger. It's not been refrigerated properly, so there's some bacteria in. Maybe it's not been properly cooked or whatever. Someone who's coughing, something like that. Maybe they've got a cold or whatever, or sneezing, sending water droplets. Either way, what's happening is, in both those cases, whether it's E. coli or the virus that causes a cold, either way, those are going to enter somehow a person's body. And what I tried to do here is show three ways in which our white blood cells might fight this infection. And again, I think the reason I didn't like this that much is because it ended up being a bit busy. I think students were a bit like, whoa, there's a bit too much going on. What you might want to do, therefore, is kind of break that into two, or just, yeah, somehow space it out a bit more. But I did like starting from the concrete and then sort of becoming more abstract. Anyway, the point here is the first two ways primarily relate to bacteria, although I think number one could relate to viruses as well. Biologists, please confirm whether that's true or not. As I always say, my biology is not the strongest. But what I explained to students was, if you've got bacteria in particular, one way these bacteria can be eliminated by white blood cells is that the white blood cells engulf or ingest them. Now again, depending on your knowledge and depending on the group you've got, you may want to use some more sophisticated language here. If I remember rightly, it's macrophages. Again, if I've got that wrong, apologies. If not, I think it's absolutely fine for a Key Stage 3 lesson to just give them this idea that one way white blood cells can tackle pathogens entering the body is by engulfing or ingesting them. The main thing to emphasize here is that they don't eat them. They're not like Pac-Man or something like that. They kind of surround them, take them inside, and then render them harmless. The second way, and this does relate primarily to bacteria, the second way white blood cells can tackle them is by producing what I've drawn in red here. These are called antitoxins. And again, this is a bit of a recap from what they did in the chemistry unit in year 7, the first chemistry unit. There was some lessons on acids and alkalis there. So it's this idea that these are neutralized and that the toxins that were going to cause problems to our cells are no longer harmless. And then the final thing you can do is talk about how, primarily for viruses, but again, if I remember rightly, I think bacteria can have antigens as well. Again, I need someone who actually knows a bit more biology than me to clear this up for me. But again, another way, and I'm just going to say, for example, for viruses, is that rather than antitoxins, which neutralize the toxins released by bacteria, white blood cells can produce antibodies. And you can show these things as binding to the antigens of the virus. Again, I think in my diagram, this was all a bit compressed, and I think actually it just needed a bit more spacing out and a bit longer to go through each of these. But what I've shown here is that when the antibodies bind the antigens, then again, those pathogens that have entered, in this case a virus, has been rendered harmless. So that's just a really quick overview, and actually that is, as you'll see at the end of the slides, there's I think it's from a GCSE paper, but there's a GCSE exam question which essentially says put all that into words. So what you can do in this lesson is go through this diagram, do the whiteboard questioning with the multiple choice, or however you want to do that, maybe some turn and talks to just see what students are thinking. Then you can get them to answer the comprehension questions, and then you can finish off with a bit of extended writing to turn that into full sentences. However it works for you, yeah, that is fine. And yeah, as I said, in this video in particular, I'm pretty convinced there are better ways to do this, and better ways to introduce it, maybe make it more concrete. If you do have any ideas, please do share them with me. In the next video, we'll look at vaccines.